somewhere. I explained that in my new book. It's in the temple scroll. At the end of that, you shall have one and only, the king shall have one and only one wife his whole life. The temple scroll also says, you shall not put a foreigner over you, which is a quote from, I think, Deuteronomy or Leviticus. And at the end it says, the king shall have one and only one wife his whole life, and that wife shall be Jewish. And it also says, it bans at the end, he shall not marry his niece, or some they shall not marry their nieces. That's not known in Rabbinic Judaism. Rabbinic Judaism says you can marry your nieces. You know, all over the Arab world to this day, men marry their first cousins and nieces. That's popular Arab practice everywhere in the Middle East. In fact, my wife's sister married an Iraqi, and they had some children then, and things didn't go well, and she left because she thought Baghdad life was cruel, and she went back to England and brought the child with her. The child grew up and then went back, not to Iraq, but somewhere in the Persian Gulf to finally meet her birth father. And the first thing he told her, you've been promised to my brother's son. You know, I've already got the marriage contract. This is after, 25 years of not having seen her. He made himself real beloved at that point to her. You're already, we've got a marriage contract for you, And since she had gone to Oxford or Cambridge, that made it even more impressive to them to try to press home the marriage contract that they had, and had a British citizenship besides. But the point being, oh God, it's on tape, I'm going to get crucified. But the fact of the matter is that this is still widespread in the Middle East to this day, is what I'm trying to say. Rabbinic Judaism, I don't know where it stands on all these issues. It's modified itself. Polygamy wasn't banned in Rabbinic Judaism until the 11th century, and that was in the eastern parts of Jewish practice, in the Muslim world mostly, and then in the Western European parts of Jewish practice, there was a ban that was put on it somewhere in the 12th or 13th or 14th century, official ban put on polygamy. So the point is the scrolls that I just read you from are 1st century BC or 1st century AD documents. That's what the whole argument is about. And I cover that in my book if you're interested. But here we have a lot of interesting points just in that little, that's why I kept reading. I could have stopped at about David and Uriah the Hittite. What were they saying about David and Uriah the Hittite? They were clearly concerned about the issue, just like this genealogy here is concerned about the issue. What was their approach to David and Uriah as the Hittite issue? Well, they love David, so they're not going to blame David for anything. They acknowledge that there's an issue there. As for David and Uriah the Hittite, they say, let God judge that. Let God judge that. We cannot judge. We will not judge. David's sins or whatever rise up to God. In other words, it's for God to judge that particular issue. So what I'm saying, it was a problem for them, and you see here, it's a problem between these two genealogies. So you say, well, what does that mean? Well, it just shows people are working on these genealogies. These genealogies are not to be relied on, unfortunately. I say, well, maybe the other one's good. Well, maybe it is. That's for you to determine. To my mind, when you have a contradiction, only two witnesses, you're in serious problems. All right, let's go down a bit further. Oh, God. I've taken much too much time already on this. Rehoboam, okay. And then after the carrying away to Babylon, Matthew 1:12, Jeconiah begot Shealtiel. Let's see if I can go back up. That's why it's so difficult. Oh, you see, they come back together again, I think, at that point. It goes Melchi, Neri, Shealtiel. They have Jeconiah begot Shealtiel. Again, there's they don't agree on who Shaltiel's father was, clearly. But from then on, Shaltiel begot Zerubbabel. I guess they start to agree again. You see? But then they diverge again. So it isn't just that it's the father and the mother's genealogies. You can't have different people having different sons, or descendants, or fathers, or ancestors. The same people having different ancestors or descendants, even if it is the genealogy of two different people. You see, it isn't. It doesn't gel. You follow what I mean? In other words, you can't. That argument just doesn't fly. It's the mother's genealogy. It's an attempt to comfort the believer and to quiet unnecessary concern. But it isn't. It's an inadequate one for people as critically minded and intelligent as you guys. Well, because you can't have a different father for the same person, so something's wrong with the genealogy. A lot of trouble begins with Shaltiel and Zerubbabel, and you'd think that would be easier. Why is that more difficult? Because they can pick the other genealogies out of what? Out of Scripture. But the closer to their own time they get, the less they know. The closer to their own time they get, the less they know. So therefore, it's more difficult for them to get the names in place. Because they don't have the documents. They have more documents from 1100 or the beginning of time to 500 than they have from 500 to 100. So I think the generations then, let me see how the generations go again here. So I'm going backwards, which makes it so difficult. Zerubbabel Abiud, Zerubbabel Resa, Abiud Eliakim. Well, then it diverges again. And Azor begot Zadok according to Matthew. I don't even see Zadok on the other. Is Zadok on the other genealogy? Oh, yeah, no, there's no Zadok on the other genealogy. And Matan begot Jacob. Let's see. Did we find it again anywhere up here? Let's see. Mattathias. There's Mattathias. Joseph, Jani, Melchi, Levi, Mattai, Heli, Joseph,